What's going on, boxing fans? Julian Williams here at the distance. Got a video for you guys. This is a prediction video for the upcoming bout between Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez. This is the third bout between both of them. This one's going to be for the WBO welterweight championship at a catch weight of 144 pounds. So, more than likely, I think this video is going to be probably 20 minutes. So I'm going to break this down to a part 1 and part 2 because the iPhone 4 does not upload videos past 10 minutes. Because, when the iPhone 4 was made, they stopped, videos on YouTube stopped at 10 minutes. So, anyway, let's get into the fight. Pacquiao versus Marquez. So, we all know that they have somewhat of an intense rivalry. The first fight was a draw. The second fight was a split decision victory for Manny Pacquiao. Fans have argued the fight going either way. Some believe that Marquez won both fights. Some believe that Pacquiao won both fights. Some believe that both fights were a draw. Some believe the first fight was a draw. Some believe the second fight was a draw. So a lot of people, many observers, have different beliefs on what they think about both fights. So pretty much the first fight, we all know what happened in the first fight. Juan Manuel Marquez was knocked down 3 times. 3 times. 3 times in the first round, lost 4 points. The round was one of the judges that scored it at 10-7 was supposed to be scored 10-6. So that's the reason the fight was a draw. And the victory was supposed to be for Manny Pacquiao. So in the first fight, we did see sorry, I had uploaded the video on the other channel. In the first fight, we saw pretty much the heart of Juan Manuel Marquez. We saw his skill. We saw his skill level. And we saw him make adjustments to complement him in that first fight. He was able to expose some flaws of Manny Pacquiao. What he did was he started to move away from his left hand. He took his left hand away by moving to Manny Pacquiao's right side, jabbing. When Pacquiao got close and just stood there, he would go to the body to try to slow him down, and he would counter, and he started to counter over his jab. So when he would start to counter over his jab, Pacquiao started to try to lead him with the left hand, and Marquez kind of took it away, and he countered the left hand as well. So pretty much with that fight, Marquez made little adjustments, and also Pacquiao was a much different fighter in 2004 compared to what he is now. And he started to use Pacquiao's aggression against him. He started to, Pacquiao's footwork was not that good at that time. He was stepping out of range. He was throwing punches from out of range. He was out of position to punch, and Marquez just began to counter him and slowly hit him with the right hand. And the right hand was able to land much easier back then on Pacquiao because his guard was much different. His hands were down a little bit lower than compared to how they are now. He didn't really move his shoulders as much. So pretty much Marquez in the first fight was able to stand outside and dissect him, stand at a range to where he can land his punches and put his punches together well to where he was back into the fight after about 7-8 rounds. But Pacquiao later in the fight started to let his hands go, and sometimes when fighters let their hands go, it looks better to the judges compared to a fighter that's landing more and landing at a higher percentage and landing much cleaner from time to time. So the fighter that lets his hands go more than likely will sometimes look better to the judges, depending on who's judging the fight and what the judges are looking for. So the first fight was a draw. The second fight was a split decision for Manny Pacquiao. And in the second fight, we see in almost 4 years how much better Pacquiao is compared to how he was in 2004. In the 2008 fight, Pacquiao was fighting at a much slower pace than what he was trying to fight in the first fight. He shortened up his punches. He fought with a more controlled aggression. He didn't punch from out of position. In that fight, he was always kind of in that position to punch. Though he would get caught with some specific shots that he probably shouldn't have been hit with, but his hands were much higher. He moved the shoulders more, it just seems that his footwork was a lot better. And he wouldn't throw from out of range as much as he did in the first fight, and also he actually he got Marquez down one time with the short left hook inside. while short counter left hook inside, while Marquez was being the aggressor and coming forward and stuff. So in the second fight, Pacquiao was a much better fighter compared to how he was in 2004 and 2008. So he had progressed a lot as a fighter, and you could tell in that fight, if you look at the first fight and the second fight, that one ended in a split decision for Manny Pacquiao, though some believe Marquez won the fight. And both fights are fights that could have gone either way. And like I said, people look at fights differently, and it depends on what you're looking for, to where you would score, to how you would score the fight, because everybody scores their fights differently. Whether you have an official or unofficial card, everybody scores fights differently. Some people will score blood. Some people will score clean punches. Some people will even look more to who's throwing more punches, who's more aggressive. And most of in Pacquiao in this one fight, fought with a very controlled aggression, while Marquez was being a lot more technical. So technique, being technical versus controlled aggression, can go either way. So anyway, going into this fight, both of them have fought. Pacquiao's fought different opponents over the last 3 years. Marquez has fought smaller opponents, and Marquez has fought a great fight, a great first fight with Juan Diaz, a fight where he was down and came back and knocked out Diaz. He fought Michael Caceres in a thriller November 27th of last year. He fought Diaz in the rematch July 31st of last year. Has that fuckery of a fight against Ramos back in July 16 of this year. And also had a bout against Floyd Mayweather Jr. At 140. I think it was he was 144 while Mayweather was 146. So just overall, Marquez has had some decent opponents, and fought but also he fought Mayweather as well. And Pacquiao's fought bigger opponents. He fought De La Hoya, he fought Hatton, he fought Clottey, which was a sparring match. He fought Mosley in a sparring match. Margarito in a sparring match. Cotto, in a decent bout, to where me myself thought that he was probably going to lose because Cotto was the bigger man. So overall, while Marquez is fighting lightweights, he's fighting lightweights. Pacquiao's fighting bigger fighters, welterweights. He's fighting welterweights, and now they both are going to be fighting each other at welterweights. So the advantage, I think Pacquiao now is going to have better punch resistance at 147 compared to at 130, 126. I think he's going to have better punch resistance. That because he's faced bigger fighters over a certain period of time. He's probably used to taking those punches unless he gets hit with good counter punches. It's kind of like Foreman. By the time he fought Evander Holyfield in April of 91. The shots that Evander Holyfield was hitting George Foreman with were punches that he probably couldn't take when he was about 210, 216 back in the 70s. Because he was about 30 pounds bigger, he probably had more punch resistance compared to what he had when he was much younger. And I think that Pacquiao probably has a better punch resistance now compared to what he had at 130 and 126. Because now he's a bigger fighter. He's fought bigger opponents who actually hit hard. So pretty much, Pacquiao has that advantage in being the bigger fighter. He's going to have a size advantage now in this fight. Even though both fighters have started out, at smaller weight classes, this fight he's going to have the size advantage. Of course, Marquez is going to have the advantage in experience. He's a counter puncher. But also he can be aggressive. He's shown the ability to kind of take attributes away from fighters. He knows how to kind of take the speed away. He took Pacquiao's speed away by timing him. He took his power straight left away from moving to his right side in the other fight. And sometimes it takes him a couple rounds to kind of figure out what he's going to do. And a lot of people are wondering, is 144 a good weight for him? Is 144 a good weight for Marquez? And can he fight at this weight? Because he was much slower against Mayweather and how he looked. So anyway, I'm going to get into the breakdown in the next video. This is part 1. Thanks for watching. Peace.